Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from SmartCon 2023 by Chainlink. Joining me for this segment, we have Stefan Rust. He is the CEO of Truflation, and we're going to discuss reporting objectively on data. Stefan, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
No, thank you for having me, and glad to be here.
Yes, can't get you in New York, so we'll just fly around the world to Barcelona and meet up with each other.
I'll come to New York. I'll make that
Okay,
commitment.
there you go. So let's talk about Truflation. Tell us more about it, and why do you think it's important in the world today?
So, I mean, just simply, look, governments are shutting down. There's no more reporting. So Truflation runs 24/7. We update our metrics daily, and so it's always up. You can always get a reliable source of truth associated with inflation metrics. That's the main reason why we set it up, as well as making sure that we have an independent source that accurately reflects price changes, as is witnessed and experienced by people. And if you look today, over the last 3 years, people have lost 25% of their purchasing power. That means you have 25% less salary, less income, and disposable spend as a result of that.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because the inflation data that we have, it's lagging,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, at least this is, I feel like it's a little bit more reliable, objective. It's actual data, not just somebody answering surveys, right?
Exactly.
Why should the average person trust Truflation numbers?
So we aggregate 18 million items, 3 price feeds per item, and we put that on the blockchain. We disclose the sources, so where we aggregate and pull the data from. We disclose the methodology that we use to calculate all of that, and it's ultimately maintained by multiple node operators on the Chainlink network.
What's your vision for the company in the coming years? What opportunities are you seeing for future growth?
Yeah, two. I mean, so I always thought that inflation was going to be transitory. And so as a result, we thought it would come down, but it actually hasn't come down. So the government's been doing us a favor by keeping it and trying to keep it in the news. And so ultimately, Truflation's always been that counterbalance to the government reporting. On the flip side, we've also seen the fact that government's shutting down is keeping Truflation alive as the only report where you can actually get real-time information, as well as we're seeing a big opportunity in real-world assets. We've aggregated not only the price information, but in order to get better predictions, we've aggregated the core source, so commodities, metals, precious metals, supply chain, housing market, labor market, transportation data. So we've aggregated a lot of that, and we're seeing the tokenization of those assets. Where do I go to get real world information from an oracle as a smart contract to rely on that source? And so that's what we're trying to build out. Real world asset tokenization is a big opportunity. The other category is indexation, right? So the whole indexing of any sort of permutation. We've just launched the EV. We are launching an EV index, and the EV index is basically going to track the commodities that go into the batteries according to the supply of EV cars.
Yeah, what's so interesting, when I first met you last year, my first thought was this is perfect for indexing.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear. What's one big takeaway that you think people should hear from SmartCon this year?
So yeah, tokenization of real world assets, indexing, Truflation.com. And then ultimately, I think the development of synthetic assets tied to real world assets. So
tell us more about that. What's a synthetic asset relative to that?
So it's not actually the real, I'm not breaking down this table into bite-sized chunks and then issuing a token for this segment only. I'm actually saying the value of this table is $100. I'm going to issue a token at 10 cents the dollar, and then I will issue it based on the value of this table. So I could actually have 100 of these tables, but the synthetic asset is tied to the value of the table itself. And so that ultimately becomes a synthetic asset, which could be traded at a far greater volume than the actual physical asset itself.
Appreciate the insight as always, Stefan. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.